A very good afternoon to everyone. Honorable Justice Sharad Bobde, distinguished former Chief Justice of India, my colleague and brother Justice Bhushan Gawai, Chancellor of the Maharashtra National Law University, Justice Sanjay Gangapurwala, Acting Chief Justice and Pro-Chancellor, Professor Dr. Vijendra Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Justice Shukre, Justice Sandurkar, Justice Bharti Dangre, Justice Kilor, Justice Dikshit, Justice the Advocate General, Mr. Birendra Saraf, Chairperson of the Bar Council of India, Mr. Manan Kumar Mishra, all the other distinguished judges present and former present here, professors, teachers, staff, families, friends, and most importantly, the young lawyers who have gathered here today to receive their degrees. I'm delighted to be here today on the joyous occasion of MNLU Nagpur's first convocation. At the very outset, my heartiest congratulations and sincere congratulations to each and every one of you. It is not a small feat to be graduating with a degree in law from a prestigious university like MNLU, Nagpur, and you should all be proud of yourselves. We must all give the graduating classes a big round of applause. The parents, families, and friends who stood by the graduating classes and helped them along the way, you should be equally proud of yourselves, just as we are proud of our own parents and families. And a round of applause for all of you as well. Young friends, as you donned your graduation gowns and caps this morning and prepare yourselves to bid adieu to university life, you must have been flooded with memories of the carefree years spent on the campus. William Shakespeare captured the intangible, close to indescribable feeling of saying goodbye to someone or something when he wrote, "Parting is such sweet sorrow." And sweet sorrow it is indeed to leave the life you shared with your friends and peers behind. But even as one chapter of your life ends, a new chapter opens itself up. Like freshly fallen snow or freshly fallen rain with not a mark upon it, your lives at this moment, the moment of your graduation, are full of potential. While Lady Luck plays a role in determining the course of one's life, the role that you yourself have in this endeavor is not to be understated. My advice to you on this momentous day is simple. Be guided by constitutional values in your professional life, and you will not fail. Today, for a brief while, I would like to speak to you about the preamble to our Constitution in particular. The preamble is a short but weighty part of the Constitution. It states that we, the people of India, give to ourselves this Constitution. This is immeasurably significant because it marks the transition of the people of India from the status of subjects to the status of citizens. The colonial masters did not bestow the Constitution upon us as an act of grace. Ours is a document which is homegrown, a product of self-governance, dignity, and independence. As citizens of India and as lawyers, it is our duty to ensure that our fellow citizens are citizens in substance and in the truest sense of the word, and not merely on paper. How, you may ask, can this be achieved? The answer lies in the fulfillment of the promise in the preamble, the promise that we will secure social, economic, and political justice for all. In your mission, or what I hope will be your mission, to secure justice for all, I implore you never to forget the difference between justice and charity. There is a clear but well-defined difference between justice and charity. Justice is firmly rooted in the conception that all people possess certain inalienable rights. Charity, on the other hand, is premised on the greatness of the person who is being charitable. Justice tackles the root cause of injustice, but charity merely addresses the after effects or symptoms of injustice. Justice aims to empower communities and enables them to be self-sufficient and possessed of all the rights to which they are entitled, whereas charity merely alleviates the suffering arising from injustice for a fleeting moment in time. So in your lives as lawyers, I appeal to you not to consider your work, whether as lawyers or subsequently as judges, as persons who dole out charity, but persons who are responsible for creating an environment in which justice can be dispensed to every citizen. We sometimes forget that the etymology of the word empower is the word power. Charity does not empower communities or redistribute power to create a just world. In contrast, the very purpose of justice is to destroy the need for charity itself. Charity is a weak substitute for the full availability and exercise of human rights. Commit yourselves to the path of justice, and if you are able to touch even a single soul, you would have had succeeded beyond measure. Of course, my remarks on the difference between justice and charity do not mean that you should not act charitably or donate to or help those in need. Rather, my advice to you is to aim to attain justice and not to confuse it with charity along the way. The success of our Constitution is generally viewed from two opposite ends of the spectrum. Some people speak of our Constitution in entirely adulatory terms, while others are cynical of the success of our Constitution. The reality is neither here nor there. As a governing document, its potential is indeed transformative. When the Constitution is viewed in the context from which it emerged, it is nothing short of remarkable. The Constitution has made tremendous strides towards a more just and democratic society, but much work remains to be accomplished before we can rest. The deep inequality which fractured our society at the time of independence persists even today. The best and surest way to make this inequality a distant dream of the past is to inculcate the spirit of constitutionalism in our society. In this endeavor, dear young lawyers, none are better placed than you. As I look at the sea of optimistic faces in the audience, all of you came here to the podium, I cannot help but hope that you will stay optimistic. Let not the hard edges of life dull the softness in you, for that is where you will draw your strength and your compassion from. The celebrated South African judge and freedom fighter, Justice Albie Sachs, penned a book called The Strange Alchemy of Life and Law. In his book, Justice Sachs speaks of ending the racially discriminatory apartheid regime in South Africa so as to realign law with justice. So he speaks about the need to realign law with justice. The realignment of law with justice is not just a one-off enterprise which is restricted to a particular country, region, instance, or time. It is a constant struggle that evolves as society evolves. And even after law has been realigned with justice, we wait for society to catch up. In your dual roles as lawyers and as citizens, you will often be confronted with situations where you must choose between saying or doing nothing and saying or doing something, however small, which will perhaps realign law or society with justice. Now, I must warn you that saying or doing nothing is probably the safer, less riskier option. But choosing the more difficult option, which is to attempt to make a difference, to attempt to realign law and society with justice, is more courageous. Even the very attempt to make the world a better place makes it a better place. When you attempt to make the world better, you make it better by your attempt at the very least. Of course, this path will be filled with uncertainties, and one cannot predict the vagaries of life. Nevertheless, by choosing to do something in the face of injustice, you will be upholding constitutional values. As James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed unless it is faced. One individual who spent much of his youth in Maharashtra chose the more difficult option in the face of unimaginable diversity and adversity. In his school in Satara, the teachers made him sit apart from his classmates because of his caste. In his high school in Mumbai, Bombay as it then was, he was the only Dalit. When he went to Baroda, now Vadodara, to offer his services to the state, he could not find any accommodation. As you must have guessed by now, this individual was none other than Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, the father of our Constitution. The decks were stacked against him because of a society diseased with caste, and yet he persisted. He went on to be one of the most towering figures in the history of our country, probably the world, and continues to be a shining and stirring example to us all. We are indebted to him for many of the constitutional rights and remedies that we take for granted today. My opinion in the judgment in Navtej Singh Johar opened with the line, "The lethargy of the law is manifest again." Despite the constitutionally guaranteed right to equality and the right to non-discrimination, it took nearly 7 long decades for homosexuality to be decriminalized. But this is only one story among the many stories of injustice in our society. The unfortunate nature of the law is that the law is lethargic and filled with inertia. And you will find a million excuses when you succeed as lawyers and go on to become judges to be inert individuals. Because inertia is the privilege of the privileged. But the lethargy of the law must not be mirrored in you. When it comes to constitutional values and nurturing a constitutional culture, be ahead of the curve and lead by your own example. The communities that we create for ourselves will be the backbone of our collective quest for justice. I dare say that you are intimately familiar with the concept of community, having lived for 5 years amongst your college mates, professors, and university staff. Of late, we live in an increasingly disconnected world. Despite being more connected than ever through technology, people long for a sense of belonging as their lives become more and more isolated interpersonally. Each of us is trying to source our own sense of identity in this increasingly disconnected world. Your years at the university would have offered you a glorious glimpse of community living. Treasure it and aim to recreate that sense of community wherever life takes you. With that, I come to the end of my speech. Good luck and Godspeed to each one of you as you begin your careers in service of our great nation. Thank you.